Meeting to order, March 14th, regular council meeting. We have one regret, which is our deputy warden, who's out sunning herself. She's on vacation. There's an invitation to stand, as we do every time, stand and move. So anybody who wants to during the meeting and you feel you need to move around and walk, by all means. There's an agenda. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda stands approved as presented. Conflict of interest, if anybody has any conflict of interest, they can declare it now or they can declare it when the item comes up on the agenda. Next item is we have a presentation. We have Dan White. Dan White is with West Nova Chamber. So what I'm going to ask you to do, there's a button on your, and I'll turn it on, and I'll turn the floor over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, I've had to remember to do that with my phone too. So thank you for having me here, and I appreciate the warm welcome that I've been shown by everybody. First, I'd like to introduce myself so you get to understand me a little bit better. I was raised in the wilderness like Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone. At the age of 12, I had a trap line. I shot and snared wild animals. I skinned them, stretched the hides, and sold the fur at the Hudson's Bay Company. I came out of the wilderness pretty much uneducated, aside from high school, and spoke a dialect. And I know what it's like to be a stranger in your own country. I know what discrimination is like. But I went on to do many things. I became a motivational speaker, developed my own self-improvement courses, taught them in South Africa and around the country. I was a Dale Carnegie associate, a motivational speaker, a Toastmaster for 10 plus years. I've been an executive in a number of corporations, run my own companies. I'm currently president of Tax Audit Solutions, and I'm the CEO of the West Nova Chamber because I'm semi-retired now. So, and that's why I'm here is to speak on behalf of the West Nova Chamber. We're a little bit of a different chamber from what I've experienced in Nova Scotia. And we've taken the strong point that we're about community and that community and business are one and the same, and that you're not just business because you're a board of trade or a chamber of commerce. You have to work together, and that's really clear. I'm not much interested in the hierarchy of chambers world where there's Atlantic Chamber of Commerce and Canadian Chamber of Commerce, because that takes time. It takes your energy away from helping your community. So we're very focused. One of the first initiatives we took on was getting the highway signs fixed through the Digby area, and now that's on its way. We're going to get all our signs repaired. The next big project we took on was leading the fight to keep the ferry from being transferred to Magdalen Islands, and we did it in 3 weeks. It was a major fight, and at the last minute I got a call from Wayne Long from New Brunswick saying he's meeting with the Prime Minister. Could we send all our data to them? And then I got a call from Chris D'Entremont informing us that there was going to be a good news announcement, and the next day they said they were leaving our ferry alone. So with the people who didn't think we could do it were wrong. The people who thought that we couldn't do it that fast were wrong too. And now we're leading the fight to get the 101 highway completed. And we will succeed in that. I have no doubt about that. We're making great movements, talking to everybody that's in any way associated with the chief engineer, our MLA, the MLA and member of parliament, and our Minister of Public Works. So they all know who we are, and I tell them I'm a fanatic. We're not going away. We're getting our highway. And what I want to do is share the information with this area, because the 103 is another crazy street going through a residential area where people get killed. So that has to be fixed. So I'm reaching out saying we need to work together. There's as many people from Halifax to this part of the country as there is in Halifax. We're every bit as important as Halifax. And we need to speak together as a voice, otherwise we'll be second fiddle. So we have to work together. We have to exchange information. And that's what I want to do. I want to lead the initiative where we find things to work together on. We thought we would do the tourism and trade show this year, But I thought we had a partnership with the Pines, but we had a misunderstanding of what that really was, so I canned the deal. But I would be very interested in working with you folks and other folks to do a proper trade and tourism show for this part of part of the country next year. If you're interested in that, I certainly would like to have a dialogue about that. And it's something that we need to do. There's things that we can work on, and one of the things that needs to be done is our young people need to be trained in tourism. Tourism is our low-hanging fruit. It's really easy to bring in businesses and fund them and have them pack their bags and leave after 5 years when the deal is sort of over. I'm not saying we shouldn't build business, but I'm saying tourism is low-hanging fruit. There's so many ways to market this part of the country. Like, I'm lucky because I'm a newcomer. And I can see things that if I lived here, I wouldn't see. And what I see is golden opportunity. This is like Scotland and Ireland wrapped together into one country. And the beauty of the area is phenomenal. So I was saying that young people need to be trained in business, the business of tourism. It's a serious business. And it's the fastest, easiest way. And it's one where the government is also interested in investing in and helping us with. And so long as we have all these little areas that are doing their own thing on their own, we don't have the clout, we don't have the momentum and the joint force of everybody working together to make it known across not just Canada, but the Americans, whenever they get mad at their leaders, they talk about moving to Nova Scotia. So, you know, this is a great country. We've got so many things that we can talk about and we can show. Like, who mentions that Bear River is the entrance basically to Kenji Park? I was here for a year before I even knew that was the case. And where does the ferry come? Well, the ferry comes to the Digby Gut, but where are the cruise ships? Well, because there's nothing to do. Nobody's going to get off the cruise ships and go and do into the tourism. Why not? Because nobody's educating them. We have to get the word out there about what a phenomenal place this is. I mean, the trails are astronomical. There's so much water everywhere. It's just the beauty of it. It's there to be sold. And what happens, and I've experienced this by living somewhere for a long time, you get used to what you have and you take it for granted. You don't really see how much it is. And Canadians suffer from a disease called modesty. There is no room for modesty in business. If you don't blow your horns, how in the heck is the rest of the world going to know you're great? We've got to get together, join forces, and get known across this country and across this continent and across the world, because we've got a lot to offer. So I think we need to pull together. And I'm the first one to say that. I'll reach out. I'll do whatever I can to whoever will work with us. And our chamber was brand new. July 1st, we incorporated. And now just about everybody in Nova Scotia knows who the heck we are because of what we're doing. And that's just one little chamber. Could you imagine if all of us got together and beat the tom-toms and got the word out there, what we could do? If the West Nova Chamber of Commerce can be recognized, oh, you're the ferry people, oh, you're the guys with the 101 signs all over the place, well, we're putting the word out there. And what I'm suggesting is we figure out ways to work together. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you start off, you agree that you're going to have meetings, and out of every meeting, there's going to be takeaways that we do. Who's going to do what? And then there's going to be follow-up to see that we get it done. If we do that, this province can regain its economic vitality that it had. I'm reading the book Scamps and Scalawags of Atlantic Canada, and it's a great book. There's a lot that's changed, and there's a lot that hasn't changed. An example of the story, how they dealt with crime back then. Theft number one, you got a T on your thumb. If you get hauled into court for stealing again, where's your thumb? You hold your thumb up and it's got a T, they'll hang you. Now, I'm not suggesting we do go that route, but I'm just saying Nova Scotia was colorful. And we need to be colorful again, and no room for modesty. So what I'd like everybody to do is think about this, and I'm more than happy to call meetings, or we can have Chantel, who's this wonderful person, to organize everything for us. It would be quite great. But let's do something and let's make it happen, and let's not be individual. And there's one idea I'd like to plant in your head. When I was in South Africa, they had a thing called homestays. And that was people without much money would create a bedroom for guests. And the guest was, you had a South African experience. You didn't eat hot dogs and hamburgers. You ate South African food. Now, if we organize that through the households, you know the event that's this summer. Can you imagine if all the homeowners were saying, we have homestays? It's quite different than a bed and breakfast. A homestay is you sit down and you eat dinner with the guests and the homeowner together, and you have a culture experience of some kind. And explore the seafood, the frappy pie, and all the other cuisine things. So if that would happen, people could go from place to place, and they'd have such a good time, they'd say, let's do it again next year. So that's my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Dottawong.
So the West Nova Chamber,
Yeah.
it encompasses where right now? What's your area, or do you have an area? Or?
Thank you for the question. What's the geographic area of the West Nova Chamber? Well, we put a lot of thought into that, and we incorporated as a not-for-profit. We didn't incorporate as a board of trade, which means that we can have whatever territory we want. And we thought we could call it the Southwest Nova Chamber of Commerce, but then we thought, well, that's kind of stepping on people's toes, whereas West Nova is less on people's toes. But the reality is, anybody in Nova Scotia can belong to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, the Atlantic Chamber of Commerce, any of the boards of trade or chambers of commerce, just as they can join ours. So it's not restricted to anybody. And much as I always like members, I'm not here to recruit members, but I'm happy to answer the question.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Not so much a question, but it's nice to put a face to the name. I follow your Facebook page.
Thank you.
Twinning the 101 and stuff like that.
Right.
And
For that, you'll have to turn off
I
airplane
see
mode
it's
or
been
connect
coming
to a
on,
Wi-Fi
he's been
network.
coming on quite strong and working at it,
Yeah.
so good for you people.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and we've had to put a major effort into it. I couldn't get a website fast enough, so I had to learn how to do it myself.
Yeah, well, you've done a good job of it.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Councillor Sonyak.
Dan, I like what you had to say, and I saw some real good enthusiasm in what you were saying. And it kind of resounds in the way I'm thinking. So I believe in tourism wholeheartedly, and I think we're missing the boat sometimes. I look at Peggy's Cove, which is what everybody brings up.
Everybody knows about it.
However, Peggy's Cove is in Halifax, and yet the tiny little lighthouse in a big city like Halifax is taking the show.
That's right.
So in the same way, we could be stealing the show. I don't want to steal the show from Peggy's Cove, don't get me wrong.
no.
It's there and it's going to stay. But I'm saying that we have little things here.
We do.
That can make a difference in tourism as well.
Yep.
And I think I see what you're pertaining to, and I'd like to see that happen. I'd like, everybody brags our lighthouse in our municipality and all the coves and inlets
Yeah.
and waterways. And we do have a gem here, but it needs to be exploited, and any help we can get
Yeah.
is great.
Well, thank you for that. And I really do think that if we collectively figure out the best ways of getting the word out there, people will come to see. This Nova Scotia is an adventure on its own, and people don't really realize. I didn't come here because of all the great things in Nova Scotia. I came because I wanted a quieter lifestyle. I was going to semi-retire and take it easy. And I know that the people in Nova Scotia are nice, and houses were cheap, and so what a place to come. You know, ocean views on top of a hill, and looks great. Then I joined the Board of Trade and thought, well, they're not doing anything. So I'm going to start the Chamber of Commerce where I can do something. And that's what I'm seeing is just, you know, there's such a land of opportunity. So many things you can't help but get excited about it.
Thank you.
Councillor Stratton.
Yes, thank you, Dan. It was a good presentation. Enjoyed that. We have an issue that's coming up here, our own ferry. You were talking about the ferry in Digby, but whenever they're finishing their study, I think that's something that we can't start, when the report comes out, that we're gonna shut the ferry down in 2 years, who knows what they're gonna say? And something's gotta be started.
That's correct.
Very soon, because let's face it, it's all about cost, and that sometimes they don't see the value.
Yeah.
And that, to me, has not been brought up, or to the right people. We all know how valuable it is as counselors here.
Yes.
You know it yourself, it's not only Digby, there's,
Yep.
Yarmouth Ferry, but we've
Yep.
got to bring that up, and, that would be
We
a
do,
good
and it's
start.
not just one ferry, it's both ferries.
Yeah,
And those ferries have a big berth, and there could be cruise ships coming in. And we're not making that pitch that I can see. It has to be there. I mean, cruise ships are a big thing. I'd love to see the Titanic 2 dock in this part of the country. They are going to build the Titanic 2, a replica. That'd be kind of exciting. What do you think? If we should be after that like a dirty shirt, bring it here. We'll make it happen.
I want one to first see it.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Thank you for the presentation. It was, when you said you were a newcomer and you saw so much that you could do in this area. Well, my husband is from the Madeline Islands, and he said the same thing.
Yeah.
And when he came to this area, he says, "You guys are missing the boat. You're not selling yourselves. You're," in exact words that you said. So
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him that there's somebody else that thinks like him.
Well, thank you, and you're right, but we have to collectively sell ourselves.
Yeah.
Councillor Dodgemall.
Yeah, me again. Just on the cruise ship
Yeah.
question or concern that you had, I just got this email today, so this is brand new, but the Swan Hellenic SH Vega is coming on May 20th here in Yarmouth. It's a small cruise ship.
Okay.
We've had a few small ones because of the harbor
Yeah.
in Yarmouth can only take small ones, or they have to tender in, but it's coming. Yarmouth and Canadian Shore Tourism Association is delighted to announce the inaugural voyage of the SH Vega, operated by Swan Hellenic Cruise Lines, to the port of Yarmouth on May 20th. So, it's 113-meter luxury expedition class cruise ship. Those are the ones that have been coming here. So, anyway, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, and that's what we need to do, is encourage more of that. And there's got to be lots of adventures when you get off that boat, and tours, and we need people really trained to capitalize, be ready to entertain the tourists. I mean, if you can go to a place like Belize or anywhere in the Caribbean, the tour operators, even Cuba, everywhere you go, they're right there, right in your face. They're taking you all over. And they're not suffering from modesty.
Deputy CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Ward, and then thank you for the presentation. It was very good. Just in regards to like process, if council had an issue, whether that's the ferry in Yarmouth or another issue, what would be the process to kind of approaching the West Nova Chamber? Is there like a representative in this area, or?
Yeah, the process is, what do we do if there's an initiative that we need to work together? You call Dan White. I'll give you my business card. I'm the guy that's working full-time at this, being that I'm only semi-retired. And the fastest way of get action is to get in touch with me. We have other people, but everybody else they're volunteers, and they're not getting paid. Now, how much am I getting paid? Well, what I've warned the West Nova Chamber of Commerce is that when we can afford to pay me, you better start paying me or I'll quit. So I'm the guy on the hot seat that answers your question. You contact me.
Perfect, thank you.
No other questions? Do you have other municipalities that are kind of joined with your group?
I've been in some discussions, and there's warmth. One of the things that we're offering is any other group can join us, like any chamber or board of trade can join us as a chapter, and we'll do the administration. And because they're all comprised of volunteers, and volunteers have to make a living. So they can't really be on top of everything. So we're saying we want a unified voice. Join with us. The president of each chamber would attend a council meeting virtually or in person, whatever they want, and we can speak together. This really has to happen. We can't do it to being separated. I just thought it was a golden opportunity with this tourism thing that we recently had, that I could get a little bit of an insight of what's going on and see the needs. And we're happy to share information. If somebody wants to know to set up a group, I'm very familiar with the technology that's involved with it, bylaws and the whole thing. So anything that needs to be set up, I can fast track it.
Okay. Councillor Saunier.
Thank you to come a second time. Dan, do you look at this area, you're sitting here addressing the Argyle Council, Argyle community. Do you see this area as a region, or do you look at it as just Argyle? I tend to look at it the way you hear it on the media, Southwest Nova,
Yeah.
or the Tri-Counties. We all got things in common, Digby, Shelburne, and Yarmouth.
Yeah.
And I think one can't go with the other in terms of tourism, personally. Do you look at it that way?
I look at it as a whole. Like, I don't really feel any different when I'm presenting at the Digby municipality as when I'm sitting here. I think we're all southern Nova Scotia. I don't see the difference. I came here and I had a really good time driving around for a couple of hours and just enjoying the beauty of the landscape. I don't think we can think separately. I think individually, like Argyle has got a real role to play in the bigger picture. We've really got to see that we're in the bigger picture, and that we've got to unite all the municipalities and all the chambers. And I found that this area seemed to be not covered by the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce. They're more close just in Yarmouth rather than reaching out. And I don't see where the barrier should stop. Just, what do we call ourselves? Well, to me, West Nova, anything from this side of the Atlantic Ocean up to Halifax.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Dan, for your presentation.
My pleasure.
I can't say yes or no or whatever. It's something, we've all listened to the presentation.
Yeah. Well, what my request would be is to think about, would you like to continue the dialogue? I'd like me to come back to other meetings. I can join virtually or in person for follow-up discussions. If you want to have a special meeting, a planning meeting, I'm familiar with that. I could lead a planning meeting. If you wanted me to do it, I could do that. Come up.
Again, that would be up to council.
Yeah.
It's something that we can discuss.
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you for that, because I'm hoping that's what you'll do. And I think that we need to really seriously look at, as a minimum, pooling resources to sell Nova Scotia. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank everybody, and thank you for the questions and the participation. It was great. Enjoyed the hospitality, and carry on.
Okay, welcome, and thanks again.
All right. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue. The next item is the adoption of minutes of the February 29th Executive Council meeting minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? If not, the minutes stand approved as presented. Recognizing Argyle. Anybody have anything that they want to, okay, I have Councillor Boudreau.
Thank you, Warden. I just want to say a huge thank you to Roland Cutrow. We took some recycled wood and he made benches and picnic tables for the Petit Bois, a small trail in back of the school that's going to house the outside furniture. Again, a huge thank you to Roland Cutrow.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bork.
Thank you, Warden. I don't know if I did thank CAPEB for giving out money funds for breakfast in the community for Mardi Gras. So I just wanted to give a shout out to CAPEB. Thank you for doing that because it gets the communities together.
Okay. Councillor Digdon. Oops, I pressed both. Go ahead. That's okay.
Okay.
I touched them both. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Councillor Digdon.
Of course, me at the Red Cap or at one of the restaurants in Pubnico last week, ended up, there was two people there, and I had no idea who they were, but I found out who they were. Next thing, I was invited to a concert up here at the Salle Per Maurice, and that there were students and organizers that were performing. They were from all over Nova Scotia, and a group from New Brunswick. It was all French students coming from French schools all across the province. And just giving a big shout out to the organizers and the students and that for a beautiful evening, great talent, songs and dance, and it went over well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Stray.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. Just wanted to like to shout out to the CAPEB. They had the dinner theater down at the Club Social des Îles in Surrey Island. Dinner theater was last Saturday. The Ladies Auxiliary set up a good breakfast, and there was a play by Anne LeBlanc and her associates, and it was well attended. And just want to thank the CAPEB for having chosen us and supported us with the dinner. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Seeing no one else. Next one is committee reports. Does anybody have any committees? I see Councillor Bork has one.
Yeah, just to mention that Nikhil has a new administrator. His name is Larry Muse, known as Sonny. So, and things are going well.
Thank you. Councillor Stratton.
I just want to just bring attention to about the airport. We've got a contract that's going to be signed. I can't, of course, say the name of the company right here. I could in camera, but just to let you know that at the meeting yesterday, the contract was there. It was going to be sent yesterday afternoon to be signed. So that could bring something like maybe $35,000, $40,000 in the coffers as a rental and stuff like that. And so it should help us bring our costs down to each of the 3 units. And there's a couple more very potential local organization that want to rent space, and there is space, of course, at the airport, in the building. So those are, again, they're in the works, and hopefully we'll have some more positive stuff to help cut our costs down for the running of the airport. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Seeing no one else. Next item is 7-day notice. We have 3 articles here. Article C6, public presentation amendments. You've all had a chance to see this. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Surratt.
I was reading and trying to figure out where was that? Hold on. There's a place that it says that if the presentation is going on too long, that the warden, deputy warden, or the chair can stop the presentation from going on if it's going over 10 minutes or so. I would like to see only the chair be able to do that. And my reason is because the first thing, you've got 2 or 3 in the pot, and somebody's saying, look, you've got your 2 minutes, and the other one's looking at that. Well, the chair is trying to keep focused on. I would prefer to see just the chair of that meeting. No disrespect to the warden or deputy warden, but to me, the chair would be better, just one person.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
and I think that's what it's meant to mean, like, he's whoever, but if we just said the chair, whoever would be chair at the time would do that, and I agree with you. I think the chair has to control the meeting, and you can't have Anybody else say, no, I think you've had enough? I've looked at that too, and I was discussing that with our deputy CAO. I think it's always been 10 minutes, but we all know that we don't really follow that much.
That's right.
And it's so difficult to cut somebody off halfway through their presentation. But they know when they book, they're told it's a 10-minute presentation, but I guess maybe a lot of them feel that 10 minutes is not enough.
I think that with the chair, with one person being in charge, which is the chair, and they're the ones who see what's going on, and let's say that person has the 11th minute, and the chair sees that he's reading to something, and all the councillors are really listening to it, for somebody to go and say, cut him off, he's going
No,
to 10 minutes.
can't, it's hard.
You know, so that's what I like to see or to think about it if, you know. Thank you, that's it.
Chantal?
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. It was more of just like a clarification thing, like if the warden or the deputy warden is chairing, or if Guy is chairing the meeting. But we can definitely just change it to keep it as chairperson, and that's no problem. It's inclusive to everybody. We'll keep it that way. And it used to say that they must interrupt the presentation. We changed the language to may interrupt. For if you guys, because we understand that presentations go longer. It's not like we're timing them. And we also added a section that presentations from municipal partner organizations shall be limited to 30 minutes per presentation. So that would be if the Wren is speaking to you or the Mariner Center or something like that.
Yeah.
So we just added those key languages in, but that's not an issue. 7-day notice can still go through. We will just take out the warden, deputy warden, and put chairperson back, and that's not an issue if council's okay with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, the next article is 53, municipal grants and sponsorship. Again, we've all had a chance to read that. What they've done is they've combined everything into one policy for all the grants. Are there any questions or comments on that one? Councillor Surratt.
I know I'm going to talk a bit. I sometimes just came over stuff, but this time I kind of read it. I had time, I guess. I may as well be honest with everybody. On the grants for halls, let me see, is that number 10? Just a second. I want to get there. Accountability. Just a sec. The point I was going to make was, can we include accessibility as a criteria? I see there was 3 items, if I can find it now. There was 3 items as a criteria, and I was wondering if we could, just a sec here. Sponsorship. Chantal, can you find it?
It's section 8, sorry.
Thank you, Marcy, and I'll read that. Projects eligible, so I can get every councillor to just think about it. It says 8.6.1, facility expansions or repair retrofit to the existing building. 8.62, technology and equipment upgrades. 8.6.3, emergency preparedness improvements to ensure the building and provide comfort times the community needs it. So I was thinking, since we're into accessibility is going to be mandated by 2030, if that could be a criteria, maybe we could push people to the halls to go into that, if councils would so wishes.
Okay.
Yes, that's it, thank you.
Councillor Sonia.
Thank you. I think it's under council community grants. I think CAO was asked to look into increasing the $500 grant to maybe $600 or whatever the cost of living would be. And I think the new figure that I'm looking at is for 4 grants per councillor instead of 6, at $700 a grant rather than 3. So we're given, am I correct in saying there's 4 $700 one? So the total is actually less money to the community in general, $200 less than what council kind of asked for.
That's what I had that on my,
Now, if we were to, I did a little bit of ciphering, doesn't take much to do that. if we were to go to 6 at $700, it's like a total of $10,000 above and beyond what we have now, but it would be, I got the numbers here, I think it's 37,000. It would come to 42,000 rather than 30. Anyhow, I think there's room for debate here. I think that we're giving I personally have people that come for the community grants, bang, they'll ask for 4. And if they do that, I usually do first come, first serve, and therefore the rest of the people would not be able to get a grant. So I find that 4, people are accustomed to 6. I know that some people here, sometimes it takes the whole year to get rid of all their 6. Not for me, it doesn't. So I think we should look at that a little differently, maybe.
Chantal?
All right. Thank you so much for the questions, counselors. I'm not the numbers guy, and the numbers guy isn't sitting here right now. So that is something that I noticed, and we will definitely take that back to him. If it's the wish of council to have, it's your guys' budget. If it's your wish to have 6 grants at $700, that's what we will do. Or if you want 6 grants at $600, that's what we will do. I would require a motion on that, but again, Alain would be able to explain the budget and stuff like that. That part I can't explain, but it is for you guys to make the decision. So if that's what you want, we can make that change in there. And as per Guy's point, Councillor Surratt's point on the accessibility, I think that's an excellent addition, not something we considered. We kind of just went with what was in the old policy and copied it over. So if the accessibility piece is okay with council, we can add that in as a or as a, not a requirement, but you know what I mean, as a section, a criteria, yeah. So if council's okay with that, we can add that in as well. That's not a problem.
Councillor Digdon?
Thank you. Yes, the council community grants, that's one that I wrote up a bunch of stuff on. Actually, I'd doing some figuring before I came here today. When I brought it up here at the last meeting, or after the meeting, what I was hoping for is that we could go with $700 per organization, up to a maximum of 6 organizations, and that in a year. And that we'd increase our 500 to an extra 200 up to 700. And the reason being is though, my thought of it was anyway, I don't know how long these grants have been set at a rate of $500, but I think it's been quite a few years, at least 8 for sure, because it was set before I came on. And the buying power now of $500 is not near what it used to be back 8-10 years ago. So I don't know, it would, overall, in the run of a year, it would cost the municipality an extra $10,800, and that as opposed to what it's costing us now.
Yeah,
know.
and if we go with just 4,
For
it would be a decrease of $1,800.
Exactly. And I definitely, and I was listening what Councillor Boudreau was saying here at the last meeting, and I don't know if it was during the meeting or after the meeting. A lot of the people are saying, and that, it's one thing we're paying taxes, but what do we get? What do we see in our community? What do we touch? What can we feel for the amount of money that we're paying in? So I don't know if you need a motion in that. Okay, I'd definitely be willing to make a motion that each councillor would be capped at 4,200, I believe it was, and that a year, and that they could give out 6 grants to a maximum of $700 per applicant. Thank you.
We need.
I'll second that motion.
That's seconded. Any more discussion? I see there's a couple. Did you want to talk on the motion, or?
Yeah, the motion's on the floor, so I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you. To Councillor Sonia's point about, he never has, he always has a 6. While, I sometimes struggle, at first, when we first started this, there was a bunch of organizations, and then they don't exist anymore in my district, right? So, you know, and I can go outside the district also, but, you know, I was just thinking about the numbers, you know, 500 to 700. You know, could I, you know, in my case, if I could only find 4, could I, you know, use the allocated money and divide it by 4 and give them, you know, whatever, right? But as long as the amount is equal for each counselor, you know, does it matter
Yeah.
or not? You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, and I'm in your shoes as well.
Yeah,
I
so-
end up at the
so,
end
I mean, if-
calling organizations
Yeah,
that
so
usually
if-
get
if we
one every
have-
year.
If we have the same allocated money, each counselor, for a district community grant, or, yeah, I guess, council community grant, you know, could you give, you know, $800, let's say? You know, whatever adds up to the amount we agree on.
Yeah, you have to be careful by doing that, I think, because what could happen is some counselor could use 800, and then all of a sudden, someone else. I think it's best that we're all allotted the same amount, right? Like the, but to your point about if you can't use them all, I'm the same way, and what happens in cases like that, which I've done in a couple of cases, maybe 2 or 3, where another counselor had spent all theirs, but they had another request, and I gave that request from my.
Yeah,
be-
and I'm doing
beca-
that too, so.
Because it used to be that you could only give it in your
Yeah, that's right.
district. And
Yeah.
we changed that. We took the name district community out and just put community grant. And going back to, I tried to figure out why that was changed to 4 as well. I wondered, and I saw that it was very close to the same amount, less, a couple $100 less or whatever. And what I thought might have happened was exactly that they took the average, how many of these grants are going out, right? Because I end up, I know, at the end of the year, not using all mine. I don't know where the money goes after that, but it probably just goes back into the budget for next year or the surplus or whatever. So I was wondering if that's how they had come to that out of 6 6, that's 54 grants for the 9, that if only 40 some odd go, then if we reduced everybody to 4, but there'd be some enough in the whole to handle what the ones that don't, that need more than the 4. That was my thought, that maybe that's how they had come up with that figure. Maybe totally wrong, I don't know. I just try to figure out why they came up with 4 all of a sudden. So, but we do have a motion on the floor. And the motion is that we give the same, we stay with the 6 and give the $700 for the 6, $4,200 per. I have, I pressed 2 again. I wanted, Guy was the next one.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yes, I support the motion for sure on the 6 grants, whether it be $600, $700, whatever, no problem there. I think where these grants go, as someone has mentioned, I call it close to the ground, to your local people, in your small organization, not the bigger ones, like the La Barge or festivals and that. These are the smaller ones, and they're very much needed, I agree. And it should go up, and I would certainly support that. And yes, 600, 700, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, the 700 is on the floor.
That's what I'd be supporting, yeah.
Councillor Sonia,
Thank you, Warden. So it's pretty clear to me, Warden, that your understanding of what's going on is not clear, therefore nor is mine. I think we should add some wording into this clause and find out exactly how this money is supposed to be used if we don't use it. You don't even know where it goes if you don't use it. You just express that it's going into the coffers you thought. And I think that's fine. I'm sure it's not getting wasted or thrown away. That's not the point. But I think we should know what our role is here. Is our role to actively seek out, to give away grants once the applications stop coming in? I don't know.
I would say probably not.
Probably not, but what I'm saying, I know there's a motion on the floor, but there should be some more wording adding to this community grant to make things a little bit more straightforward for us.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. I personally seek out to give the money away myself. The only reason being is some organizations don't even know that that money is available. And that, so I do look out, try and look out for them, let them know that we may be able to help them out if they'd be interested in giving me an application.
Right.
And go from there. Councillor D'Entremont has definitely on more than one occasion said, hey, Glenn, I've got some money available, if you can find somebody that can use it. And actually he told me here this evening, I think I may have somebody an organization that'll take it. I personally feel as though, and that's why I worded that motion, maximum of $700. I feel as though we could be going down a slippery slope, though, if a councillor lives in an area where you don't have that many organizations, but starts giving out grants of $800 or $900. I feel as though that could be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And anyway, thank you.
I'm going to go Chantal, you see.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and thank you again for the questions and the concerns. I know that the council community grants are the grants that are closest to you guys, because those are the ones that you guys give out the most specifically. So it's always a tough one for us that we require feedback on, which is great. This is great feedback. I apologize, I don't have the reasoning behind the number. As I said, our numbers guy is not here. So I don't have the reasoning behind where the number came from. So we will definitely take that into consideration. We will look at that, and because you made a motion, we will up it to that. We will look at language surrounding what happens if a counselor does not give their grants out so that it's more clear. And I believe, if I'm looking correctly, I should know because I did this, there used to be a clause in the old grant policy that stated that you could not transfer your grant money from people, from one counselor to another. That has been taken out, but you guys still do it the right way. You still, you support each other's districts because every organization supports a district. That's just, that's how it is. So anyways, we will definitely take that into consideration.
Councillor Board.
You answered all my questions, Chantal. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor for $700 for 6 grants per councillor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Councillor Surratt.
Okay, to keep on to these grants, which we're still on the, we're still on that.
Oh, we're still on the grants.
On the council community grants. I have a note here. I didn't find it clear. I've got 2 or 3 organizations in my district that are not nonprofit, but some will go through the club because it's a nonprofit. Some may go to the church because the church is a nonprofit, but that organization isn't. It's not clear to me unless you can find it yourself that this is okay or this is so. I mean, it's been done in the past, but I don't see anywhere where it says that they're not a nonprofit, that they can apply through a nonprofit. Which, like I said, like the cemetery down home. Somebody's is applying for $500. Well, we're just a committee, but we go through the church. So could we have language, I guess, or would it be possible?
So if you're specifically talking about cemeteries, if that's what you're
Yeah,
specifically
but
talking
but
about.
that wouldn't be the only one.
That wouldn't be the only one, because I was going to say, it does say including cemeteries, so it would kind of,
Because there's cemetery, yeah.
right, that makes sense. But we can definitely look at adding language surrounding that as well, because that was one thing we didn't take into consideration. We just, like I said, we pretty much took what was in the old policy and put it in the new one, so if there's stuff missing, we're definitely happy to look at that.
Because like the events committee of the Club Social des Îles.
Yep.
The events committee is a committee, but.
Right.
They're going through the club. Of course, well, they
Correct.
belong to the
Yep.
club too, that's
Nope.
right.
That
would
makes
work,
sense.
right. But,
Yep.
There's some other things that.
Yep,
Like for the signs, and if you, I wouldn't mind for a second, I'm trying to make sure I got this point right. Like for the signs, everybody that applied for a sign, they're not nonprofit. So they either have to go to the club or the church to a nonprofit. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bork.
Just to clarify on the cemeteries, Guy, cemeteries are owned by the parish, so the parish is a nonprofit, so it's a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit. The Catholic cemeteries.
Any other questions on Article, what we're dealing with now? I gotta find it. C-52. Anybody, okay? Go ahead.
sorry, just one more thing. I do have our CAO who is watching, so. He said that Guy's question can be answered through the general conditions of the municipal grants, so section 3. It says, any nonprofit or charitable community groups and organizations who have board members and have an annual general meeting. Is that good? We're good. Awesome.
So it's covered. Okay. The other one, Articles P32. And that is employee recognition. I think there's been a couple of changes, and the changes that I've seen was that, I mean, it's always been there. The policy was there. And they had it where they depending on how many years you had, there was a difference in what you were being awarded. And most of them they were also given a day's vacation. That's been taken out. That, if you look at the policy, they took that. But they raised the amount of what each year gives you. And basically, that is what the changes are in this policy. So do we have any questions on that? Councillor Digdon.
Not so much a question, I was just glad to see the monetary amount going up. Because again, it means, you're actually given a little more money out, but at the same time, what you gave out years ago at $250 or $300 doesn't have the buying power as it did when this first came into effect, I imagine.
Right.
So no, I was happy to see that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, are we okay with those?
You don't need a motion for that?
No, this is just a 7-day notice. We'll need a motion to accept these at our next meeting. And if there's any changes, I mean, we don't have to pass it next meeting. If there's still stuff in there that you feel should be changed, you can still look at it until the next meeting and bring that up at the time as well. It's only passed when we're satisfied that what it's saying is what we want. For decision, Article C-22, fees and penalties amendments. This one had our 7-day notice at our last meeting, and this is one now that we can look at and approve or not approve. Councillor Surratt.
So move.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, carried. The next one is the veterans banners, and I'm going to pass that over to our deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Are you on? Okay.
Yep, I am, yep. Good?
I don't, oh yeah, you're there. The screen just
Okay,
went up.
thank you. We all know what the veteran banner is. It's like we're going into our third year. I didn't attach any attachment. I didn't think it was needed. You guys know all about it, but I just looking for a motion tonight from council to continue the program, I think. And I'm continuing the same as it was the previous years, that we would do 5 banners per district. So that would be a total of 45 banners in all. I can tell you that in the first year, we did like 33, and I think second year was 37. I think we kind of doubled it. So it's a good program. People like it. I'm sure you hear positive comments out there. So I just need a motion from council to get it approved so I can start some discussion with the Legions, the West Pamlico and the Westport one, to start the work on it for this year and to plan for budget.
Okay, it's moved, seconder. Moved and seconded. I have Councillor Saunier.
Are those banners transferable, Deputy CAO? Like, if there's none in my community that apply for banner this year, can I transfer to?
Yeah, good question. And we've had some councillors that only had like 1 or 2, and some that had like 7 or 8. So as long as I stay between with my budget line of 45 banners, I'm okay. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Councillor Dickon.
Thank you, Bunty. It's just a great program. And the only thing I would like to do is put a shout out to Scott, who has sort of taken the reins on that, at least last year, and he told me he was going to do it again this year, which is great. And he's always there for the families. I know when they call and all that, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. If there's no other questions, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, carried. Use of parking lot on Myrtle Lane. Myrtle Lane is the road that hits Nikhil Drive. There's a boat launch there, and the boat launch doesn't have, where it is, there's no parking, and they park on the side of the road. And with the expansion that's supposed to be coming eventually, the department, and I think I'm right by saying the department have offered to make a parking area. And they're asking that if they do that, if we will take it over, it would be ours, and we would have to maintain it. Now, there's not a whole lot of maintenance on a parking area. There might be a little bit of grass to mow once in a while or whatever, and a little bit of gravel once in a while. So that's basically what that is. Any questions, any?
That's on the right-hand side.
It's
When you go in,
from,
it'll be on the left side of the south side of the bridge. So where the
Oh,
old
okay.
bridge used to be, there's
yeah.
a narrow place that you can launch a boat.
Yeah.
So do you want a motion on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we're just agreeing to allow Department of Highways to build
We
it?
would agree. Now, I don't know if that's something that they would do now or something that they would do once they start doing the renovations or the upgrade to the road. I have our deputy CAO here.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. The ask is from TPW, Department of Public Works, is whether we want to consider owning that parking lot.
Right.
It's not for a done deal. They're just building a plan now, and they're saying, if we were to build it, would you want to own it and maintain it? It's not 100% sure. They're just asking the municipality if we're willing to do that. We were debating at a leadership, but it's not a leadership discussion. It's a council discussion. You guys need to make that decision. So that's the motion, I guess, would be to, if they were to build it, would we want to be the owner and maintain it? And I've asked the question, as the warden has mentioned, to operation. I mean, there's minimal maintenance on the parking lot, and it's something that we could absorb in our own in our workforce that we have now.
It's moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? Oh, sorry, I have Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, no, I guess Scott answered the question about the maintenance. By not much, you mean maybe mowing and,
Yeah, Councilor Donovan, I would say there'd be, you'd probably mow it, whippersnip around it for maybe once a month, twice a month, and maybe, a load of gravel, maybe once or 2 years, whatever, depending on the condition of that parking lot. But if it's going to be new, it probably would be some pretty good stuff for the first few years, so I
yeah,
would say it
and
would be.
anytime we can, have access to the ocean, which, we are known for, it's a great ideal, and, I'm sure it'll be used, so.
I'd like to add that the Recreation Department has used it from time to time for different activities also, so it's used by the public, but we have used it also as a municipality.
No more questions? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Correspondence, and for information, we had a Coastal Protection Act attachment. As you all know, the government have decided not to go ahead and pass the act as it was written, but I think they've passed the buck down to the municipalities. But anyway, it's a correspondence. I'm sure probably you all received this correspondence. You've all seen it, so that's basically what it says, so. But it gives the municipalities maybe a little more flexibility in what they want to do with their own, right? Where with the act the way it was, we were pretty much forced whether we thought it needed to be done or not. And I think maybe it's a step ahead for some municipalities rather than have a blanket policy that covers everybody with the differences in areas in the province that can make a big difference on what we have to do and what really needs to be done. So the next item is financial requests. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a bunch of them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to list them, and we're going to make a motion as a whole, if that's okay with council. So we have the Kemptville Fire Department, $500. Wetchport Tuna Museum, District 3, 500. Wetchport Nature Trail Committee, District 3, 500. Wetchport and District Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, District 3, 500. East Side Community Center, District 7, 500. Pubnico Area Lions Club, District 7, 500. Forest Grove Cemetery, District 7, 500. Nouveau Horizon de la Baronnie, District 8, 500. Papillon and Pissenlit, District 8, 500. Ladies Auxiliary of West Pubnico Fire Department, District 9, 500. Le Village Historique Acadien de la Nouvelle-Écosse, District 9, 500. These are the ones that we have, and what we would want is a motion to accept all the financial requests that we have. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, carried. Next item is agenda topics for next meeting. Notice of motion by councilors. Seeing none, question period. No questions have come forward. So, next thing, we have a couple of items, maybe 3. I think we might have added another one, I'm not sure, but one that you wanted to speak about, we'll see. Yeah, so
Motion to go in
it's a
camera.
motion to go in camera.
Second.
Moved and seconded.